If you are over 60 and eating any of these 7 common foods, your memory could be quietly paying the price, and most seniors have no idea they are doing it. These are not fast food. They are not obviously bad foods. In fact, most of these foods are sitting in your kitchen right now. Some of them you might even think of as healthy. But here is what medical research is now showing us. What happens inside the aging brain when these specific foods are eaten regularly is deeply alarming. We're not talking about forgetting where you put your keys once in a while. We are talking about the slow, silent erosion of brain function, the kind that starts small and grows over time if nothing changes. Stay with me for the next few minutes, because what you are about to learn could be the most important thing you do for your brain this year. Have you ever walked into a room and completely forgotten why you went there? Have you ever been in the middle of a sentence and suddenly lost the word you were looking for? Have you had moments where a name you have known for years just wasn't there? If any of that sounds familiar, you are not alone. Millions of people over 60 experience this every single day. And for most of them, the first question they ask is this normal? Is this just getting older? Or is something wrong? Here's what we know. Yes, the brain does change with age. That is natural. But here's what most people do not realize. How fast those changes happen and how severe they become is not just about age. It is heavily influenced by what we eat every single day. The foods we will talk about today do not destroy memory overnight. They do it slowly, quietly, meal by meal, day by day, over months and years. And because the change is gradual, most people never connect the dots between what they are eating and how their brain is performing. That changes today. By the end of this video, you will know exactly which 7 foods are the biggest threats to your brain after the age of 60. And more importantly, you will know what to do about it. Simple, realistic changes that can make a genuine difference. Let us begin. Before we get to the list, you need to understand one important thing. Your brain after 60 is not the same as your brain at 30. And that matters a lot when it comes to food. Here is what happens inside the brain as we age. First, inflammation increases. When you are young, your brain is very good at fighting off inflammation. But as you get older, the brain's ability to manage inflammation slows down. Small amounts of inflammation that your younger brain handled easily start to accumulate. And inflammation is one of the leading causes of cognitive decline. Second, blood flow to the brain decreases. The blood vessels that carry oxygen and nutrients to the brain become stiffer and narrower over time. Less blood flow means less fuel for your brain. And when the brain is underfueled, memory and thinking are the first things to suffer. Third, the blood-brain barrier weakens. Think of the blood-brain barrier as a protective wall around your brain. It keeps harmful substances out. When you are young, this wall is strong. But after 60, it becomes more permeable, meaning harmful substances from the foods you eat can get through more easily and cause damage. Now here is where the 7 foods come in. Every single food on our list today either increases brain inflammation, damages blood flow to the brain, or weakens the brain's natural defenses. Some do all 3. And when you eat these foods regularly, especially after 60, you are not just having a bad meal. You are quietly accelerating the damage to the very organ that holds your memories, your personality, and your independence. Ready? Let us go through the list. Number 1. White bread and all refined carbohydrates. This one surprises people the most because white bread feels so normal, so harmless. It is at every breakfast table. It is the most common food in most homes. But here is what is happening inside your brain every time you eat it. White bread is made from flour that has been stripped of its fiber, its bran, and most of its nutrients. What is left behind is essentially pure starch. And pure starch does one thing very quickly in your body. It turns into sugar. When you eat white bread, your blood sugar rises sharply, and fast. Much faster than your body can handle it comfortably. And this sharp spike in blood sugar causes a chain reaction that directly affects your brain. Here is how it works. When your blood sugar spikes, your body pumps out a surge of insulin to bring it back down. Over time, especially if this happens repeatedly, every single day, the brain itself begins to develop what researchers call insulin resistance. The brain stops responding properly to insulin. Now, why does that matter for memory? Because insulin is not just about blood sugar control. In the brain, insulin plays a crucial role in memory formation, learning, and even the clearance of the protein plaques that are associated with Alzheimer's disease. When the brain becomes insulin resistant, those processes start to break down. In fact, some scientists have begun calling Alzheimer's disease type 3 diabetes because of how strongly insulin resistance in the brain is linked to cognitive decline. But does not stop there. That blood sugar spike also triggers inflammation throughout the body, including in the brain. And as we just talked about, inflammation is one of the most damaging forces an aging brain faces. Imagine you eat toast for breakfast. White toast, maybe with a bit of butter or jam. Your blood sugar spikes. You feel a brief burst of energy. And then, about an hour or two later, you feel foggy, tired, maybe a little irritable. That foggy feeling, that is your brain paying the price of the blood sugar crash that follows the spike. Now multiply that by 3 meals a day, 7 days a week, for years. You can see how the damage accumulates. And it is not just white bread. Any food made from refined white flour falls into this category. White rice, white pasta, regular crackers, pastries, most cereals, bagels, pancakes, waffles, and most commercial baked goods. You do not have to give up bread. You do not have to give up carbohydrates. You just need to choose the right kind. Whole grain bread, oatmeal, brown rice, sweet potatoes, quinoa. These are all carbohydrates, but they are rich in fiber, which slows the release of sugar into your blood. Instead of a sharp spike, you get a slow, gentle rise. Your brain gets steady fuel instead of a sugar roller coaster. And the inflammation? It goes down. One small change, switching from white bread to whole grain, can make a real difference in how your brain performs over time. Number 2, sugary drinks, including fruit juice. I want to stop right here, because I can already hear some of you saying, I don't drink soda. I drink orange juice. This is exactly where this gets surprising, because orange juice and most commercial fruit juices are just as damaging to your brain as soda, sometimes more so. Here's why. When you eat a whole orange, you get the sugar from the orange, but you also get all the fiber from the pulp and the peel. That fiber slows down how quickly the sugar enters your bloodstream. The sugar is released slowly, steadily. Your brain handles it just fine. But when you drink orange juice, all the fiber is gone. What is left is essentially liquid sugar. And because there's nothing to slow it down, it hits your bloodstream even faster than white bread does. A single glass of orange juice, just 8 ounces, contains about 22 grams of sugar. A can of cola contains about 39 grams. They are not the same, but they are far closer than most people realize. And when you drink a large glass of juice with breakfast, every morning for years, your brain is getting hit with that sugar flood every single day. And what about soda? Regular soda is perhaps the worst offender on this entire list, because it combines massive amounts of sugar with zero nutritional value whatsoever. There's not a single thing in regular soda that helps your body. It is pure damage. Research published in the journal Alzheimer's and Dementia found that people who consumed sugary drinks regularly had significantly smaller brain volumes, including in the hippocampus. The hippocampus is the part of your brain most responsible for memory. When it shrinks, memory suffers. What about sweet tea? Flavored coffee drinks? Sports drinks? Yes, all of them. If it has added sugar, and most beverages do, including drinks marketed as healthy, or natural. It counts. Sweetened iced tea, flavored lattes, energy drinks, vitamin water, protein shakes with added sugar. Even many smoothie drinks, they are all delivering a sugar hit your aging brain cannot afford. Water is the best drink for your brain. Full stop. If plain water feels boring, try sparkling water with a slice of lemon or cucumber. Herbal teas, unsweetened, are wonderful. Green tea is particularly beneficial for the brain, with research showing it can improve cognitive function and reduce the risk of cognitive decline. If you love your morning orange juice, and the thought of giving it up is upsetting, try eating the actual orange instead. You get the sweetness, the vitamin C, the flavonoids, and your brain gets protected by the fiber, the way nature intended. Number 3, processed meats. Ham, bologna, hot dogs, salami, pepperoni, bacon, sausage, packaged deli turkey, corned beef. These are everyday foods for millions of seniors. They are convenient. They are familiar. They have been in our diets for decades. But the science on what they do to the aging brain is deeply concerning. Processed meats are loaded with two things that are particularly damaging to brain health: sodium and nitrates. Let us start with sodium. Most processed meats contain extraordinary amounts of salt, far more than most people realize. A single serving of deli meat can contain anywhere from 400 to 1,000 milligrams of sodium. And many people eat multiple servings in a day, in sandwiches, in soups, in breakfast plates. Why does sodium matter for your brain? High sodium intake raises blood pressure. And high blood pressure, especially in seniors, is one of the most powerful risk factors for vascular dementia, which is the second most common form of dementia after Alzheimer's. When blood pressure is too high, it strains and damages the small blood vessels in the brain. Over time, those damaged vessels stop delivering adequate oxygen to brain tissue, and brain cells start to die. High blood pressure also increases the risk of small strokes, many of which are silent, meaning the person never even knows they happened. But each small silent stroke leaves behind damage, and the damage accumulates. Now let us talk about nitrates. Nitrates are chemical preservatives added to most processed meats to give them their pink color and extend their shelf life. When nitrates are digested in the body, they can form compounds called nitrosamines, and several studies have shown that nitrosamines increase inflammation and oxidative stress in the brain, both of which accelerate cognitive aging. A major study published in the European Journal of Nutrition found that high consumption of processed meats was associated with the significantly increased risk of dementia, independent of other lifestyle factors. Replace processed deli meats with fresh, home-cooked proteins. Grilled chicken breast, baked salmon, hard-boiled eggs, canned tuna and water, or even beans and lentils are all excellent options. If you do eat deli meat occasionally, look for nitrate-free versions. They are now available in most supermarkets. We are now halfway through this list, and I want to pause for a moment because I know this can start to feel heavy. You might be thinking, everything I eat is on this list. What am I supposed to do? Here is what I want you to hear. You do not have to be perfect. You just have to be better. No one is asking you to throw out everything in your kitchen tomorrow. What matters is awareness and small, consistent steps. The brain is remarkably resilient. Even in our 60s, 70s, and beyond, the brain has the ability to repair and regenerate, given the right support. So let us keep going. 3 more foods to cover, and then we will talk about simple, practical solutions that fit real life. Hit subscribe to Senior Health Blueprint. Every video gives you practical health advice you can actually use starting today. Number 4, margarine and foods containing trans fats. For decades, margarine was marketed as the healthy alternative to butter. Better for your heart, the advertisement said. And millions of seniors switched to margarine, believing they were making a healthy choice. The truth, which research has now made very clear, is that many forms of margarine contain trans fats, one of the most damaging substances you can put in your body. And when it comes to your brain, trans fats are particularly destructive. Trans fats are created through a process called hydrogenation, where liquid vegetable oils are chemically altered to become solid at room temperature. This extends the shelf life of food products and makes them easier to work with in manufacturing. But in your body, trans fats cause serious harm. Here's what trans fats do to your brain. They increase LDL cholesterol and decrease HDL cholesterol. LDL is the bad cholesterol that clogs and hardens arteries, including the arteries leading to your brain. When those arteries are narrowed, the brain receives less blood, less oxygen, less fuel. Memory suffers. Thinking slows. They cause significant inflammation. Trans fats trigger inflammatory responses throughout the body, and the brain is highly sensitive to this. Chronic inflammation from trans fat consumption has been directly linked to accelerated cognitive decline in multiple large studies. They may interfere with omega-3 fatty acids. Omega-3s, found in fish, walnuts, and flaxseed, are among the most protective nutrients for brain health. Trans fats compete with omega-3s in the body and can reduce their beneficial effects. So not only is trans fat harmful on its own, it also blocks the good fats from doing their job. A study published in the journal Neurology found that people with the highest levels of trans fats in their blood had significantly more brain shrinkage, worse memory, and lower cognitive function compared to those with the lowest levels. Now, it is important to know, regulations in many countries have reduced or banned industrially produced trans fats in recent years, but they are still found in some brands of margarine and shortening microwave popcorn packaged pastries and cookies fried fast food some coffee creamers. The key is to read labels. Look for the words partially hydrogenated oil in the ingredient list. If you see those words, put it back. That is trans fat, regardless of what the nutrition label says on the front. Real butter in moderation is actually better for your brain than margarine that contains trans fats. But the best fat for your brain is extra virgin olive oil. It is rich in anti-inflammatory compounds, antioxidants, and healthy monounsaturated fats. The Mediterranean diet, which is consistently rated as the best diet for brain health, is built on olive oil. Use it for cooking, for dressings, for bread dipping. Your brain will thank you. Number 5, alcohol. I want to handle this one carefully, because I know that for many people, a glass of wine with dinner or a beer while watching a game is a cherished part of daily life. It is social. It is relaxing. And for years, you may have heard that moderate drinking is actually good for you. So let me be very clear about what the research now tells us, especially for people over 60. The idea that moderate drinking protects the heart and brain is based on older studies that have since been called into serious question. More recent research, including a major study from Oxford University involving over 25,000 people, found that there is no safe level of alcohol consumption for the brain. Even light drinking was associated with measurable reductions in brain volume. And for people over 60, the risks are significantly higher for several reasons. First, the aging brain is more vulnerable to alcohol's effects. When you were younger, your liver processed alcohol more efficiently. Your brain recovered more quickly. But as you age, the liver's ability to break down alcohol slows down, meaning alcohol stays in your system longer and at higher concentrations. The same amount of alcohol that felt manageable at 40 has a stronger effect at 65. Second, alcohol directly shrinks brain tissue. Multiple studies have confirmed that regular alcohol consumption, even at moderate levels, is associated with a measurable reduction in the volume of the hippocampus. Remember, the hippocampus is the brain's memory center. When it shrinks, memory goes with it. Third, alcohol disrupts sleep, and sleep is when the brain cleans itself. This is one of the most important things people do not know. During deep sleep, the brain activates a waste removal system called the glymphatic system. This system flushes out toxic proteins, including the beta-amyloid plaques associated with Alzheimer's disease, from brain tissue. It is essentially the brain's self-cleaning cycle. Alcohol dramatically disrupts deep sleep. Even 1 or 2 drinks in the evening significantly reduces the amount of deep, restorative sleep you get, which means the brain's nightly cleaning cycle is interrupted. Over months and years, those toxic proteins accumulate. What about red wine and resveratrol? You may have heard that red wine contains resveratrol, an antioxidant that some studies suggest may be beneficial for the brain. This is true, but here is the reality. The amount of resveratrol in a glass of red wine is so small that you would need to drink dozens of glasses to get a therapeutic dose. And the alcohol in those glasses would do far more damage than the resveratrol could ever offset. Resveratrol is also found in grapes, blueberries, and peanuts, without the alcohol. That is a much better source. I am not here to tell you that you must never have a drink again. That is a personal decision. But if you are concerned about your memory, and the fact that you are watching this video suggests you might be, then reducing or eliminating alcohol is one of the most powerful things you can do for your brain health after 60. The research on this is very clear. If you do choose to drink, limit it to special occasions, keep portions small, and make sure you are also doing the other things that support brain health: exercise, sleep, nutrition, and social engagement. Number 6. Artificial sweeteners. Pink packets, blue packets, yellow packets, diet soda, sugar-free everything. For years, decades, artificial sweeteners were promoted as the smart, safe way to enjoy sweetness without the calories or the blood sugar spikes. Diabetics were told to use them. People trying to lose weight were told to use them. And seniors avoiding sugar were told to use them. But the science that has emerged over the last 10 years is painting a very different picture, especially when it comes to brain health. Let us look at what the research actually shows. Study 1. Artificial sweeteners and stroke/dementia risk. A landmark study published in the journal Stroke, involving nearly 4,400 adults, found that people who drank artificially sweetened beverages daily had 3 times the risk of stroke and dementia compared to those who rarely or never drank them. That is not a small number. That is 3 times the risk. Study 2. Artificial sweeteners and gut health. Here is something many people do not know. Your gut and your brain are in constant communication via what scientists call the gut-brain axis. The trillions of bacteria living in your gut, your microbiome, produce neurotransmitters, regulate inflammation, and significantly influence brain function. Research has shown that several artificial sweeteners, including saccharin, sucralose, and aspartame, can seriously disrupt the balance of healthy bacteria in the gut. They appear to reduce the diversity and abundance of beneficial gut bacteria, creating a state of gut dysbiosis. And gut dysbiosis is increasingly linked to increased brain inflammation, cognitive decline, and even depression and anxiety. Study 3. Aspartame specifically. Aspartame, one of the most common artificial sweeteners, found in diet sodas, chewing gum, many yogurts, and hundreds of other products, has been shown in animal studies to interfere with neurotransmitter balance in the brain, specifically affecting levels of dopamine and serotonin. While more human research is needed, the existing evidence is concerning enough that many brain health experts recommend avoiding it. But I switched to artificial sweeteners to protect my health. This is the heartbreaking part. Millions of seniors switched to diet and sugar-free products specifically to protect their health, often on medical advice. And now research suggests that for brain health specifically, these products may be causing more harm than the sugar they replaced. The best option is to gradually reduce your taste for sweetness overall. Our palates adapt. and things that once tasted pleasantly sweet start to taste overwhelmingly sweet after a while without them. If you need a sweetener, stevia, a plant-based sweetener with no known negative effects on gut health or brain health, is currently the safest option. Small amounts of raw honey or pure maple syrup are also far better than artificial alternatives. And most importantly, read labels. Artificial sweeteners hide everywhere, in flavored waters, protein bars, healthy snacks, gum, mints, and even some vitamins and medications. Number 7. Ultra-processed packaged snacks. This is the broadest category on our list, and in some ways, the most dangerous, because it is everywhere. Chips, crackers, packaged cookies, microwave popcorn, cheese puffs, packaged cakes and pies, instant noodles, packaged soups, frozen meals, granola bars that are more candy than grain. All of these fall into a category that researchers now call ultra-processed foods, and large-scale studies are showing that regular consumption of ultra-processed foods is one of the strongest predictors of cognitive decline. Here's why they are so damaging. Ultra-processed foods combine multiple brain-damaging elements in one package. They typically contain refined carbohydrates, added sugars, trans fats or refined vegetable oils, artificial colors, artificial flavors, artificial preservatives, and sodium, often all in the same product. You are essentially getting a concentrated hit of multiple different brain-damaging substances with every handful. They are engineered to override your brain's satiety signals. Food scientists design these products to be what the industry calls hyperpalatable, meaning they hit the brain's reward centers so powerfully that you keep eating past the point of fullness. This is not a coincidence. It is by design, and it means that people who eat these foods regularly tend to eat more total calories, more sugar, and more harmful fats, all of which compound the damage to the brain. They replace real, brain-protective foods. Perhaps most insidiously, every time you reach for a bag of chips instead of a handful of walnuts, or a packaged cookie instead of a piece of fruit, you are not just eating something harmful. You are also not eating something beneficial. The opportunity cost matters. The research, a landmark study published in the journal JAMA Neurology, following over 10,000 adults for 8 years, found that every 10% increase in ultra-processed food consumption was associated with a 25% faster rate of cognitive decline. This is one of the most striking findings in nutritional neuroscience in recent years. Another large study, the PARADIGM trial, demonstrated that a Mediterranean-style diet rich in whole, minimally processed foods significantly reduced the risk of mild cognitive impairment and dementia. The contrast with ultra-processed diets could not be more stark. The simple rule: if the ingredient list is longer than 5 to 10 items, and if you cannot recognize most of the ingredients as real food, it is likely ultra-processed. A simple rule from many nutrition experts: shop the edges of the supermarket. Produce, fish, meat, dairy, eggs, the fresh foods, are generally on the perimeter. The ultra-processed foods are in the middle aisles. Stay on the edges as much as possible. I want to leave you with something important. Memory is not just a medical topic. Memory is who we are. It is the conversations we remember, the faces we recognize, the stories we can still tell our grandchildren, the moments we can relive, and the moments we can still make. When we talk about protecting memory, we are talking about protecting the ability to be fully present for the rest of your life, to remain yourself, to remain connected, to remain independent. That is worth every single small change. And here is what I want you to take away from this video. You are not helpless. Your brain is not simply declining on a fixed schedule that cannot be changed. Research is very clear that lifestyle choices, especially diet, have a profound influence on how the brain ages. You have more power over your brain health than most people realize. The 7 foods we talked about today are not forces of nature. They are choices, and choices can be changed. You do not have to change everything tomorrow. You do not have to be perfect. You just have to start moving in the right direction. One meal at a time, one choice at a time. Start with one swap this week. Just one. Replace white bread with whole grain. Replace your morning juice with a glass of water and a handful of blueberries. Replace the processed deli meat with some fresh grilled chicken. Do that for a week. Notice how you feel. And then make one more change. Small steps. Consistent direction. Real results. Your brain is worth it. You are worth it. If this video helped you today, if it gave you even one piece of information that could make a difference, then please take 2 seconds and hit the like button. It genuinely helps this information reach other seniors who need it. And if you want to keep learning about brain health, memory protection, and living well after 60, subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell. We post new videos every week on topics that matter for your health and your life. I also want to hear from you. Which of these 7 foods surprised you the most? Leave a comment below. I read every single one of them, and your story might help someone else who is watching. And if you want to go deeper on this topic, watch our next video. 5 daily habits that protect your memory after 60. The link is right up here. Take care of your brain. It is the most important organ you have. We will see you in the next video.